I'm so happy that I'm able to share my time with you, and you took your time to be here at my first time ever giving a talk at Connect.Tech in Atlanta, second time in the States, so this is really special for me, so thank you so much for being with me. Thank you. I brought a talk which is called View Fortified. And yeah, it's a talk about fortresses, but even more so, it's a talk on web security, how to secure your Vue.js applications, but on the most important thing level, the most important low-hanging fruit you can do to quickly secure your application a little bit more. So no white lies, no excuses for leaving security out of the window. It's easy. You don't need to be scared, so you don't have any reason against it. My name is Ramona Schwering. I'm working as a developer advocate at Okta, taking care of Zero most of the time. And apart from that, I'm a Google developer expert in web technologies and a Cypress ambassador. But before I will really start with my talk, I want to have a little icebreaker here. I prepared a small Slido poll, basically. And just to basically start up this conversation together with you and to get to learn you a little bit more, I would ask you to join slido.com or scan this QR code. You can, if you go to slido.com, you can use the code view-sec and answer the question, which movie or novels with fortresses in it do you know? Let's get back and take a look at it. I will enable it really soon. There we go. So let's see what people are answering here. I see people typing. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Oh yes. This is a wonderful movie. Hidden Fortress. Oh yeah. This is an obvious one, but it makes it not worse. It's even better. It's a wonderful one. Lord of the Rings. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. I wrote the book. I saw the movies. That's wonderful. Robin Hood, Man in Tights, Princess Bride. Oh yeah, your princess is in another castle, right? Well, that's a game, but it's kind of fitting. So yes, we can find lots of references or even plot points connected to fortresses in movies. And for this talk, I want to refer to one certain one. And I guess, and I'm really happy that people already named it inside of the web piece. It's this one. I said, I love Lord of the Rings, and in it there are many fortresses to be presented, and especially one is of significance when it comes to the, basically part being allegory on web security. It's one fort from part 2, Two Towers. I'm talking about Helm's Deep. You can see it here on this page. It's basically meant as a refuge, so meant for protecting all the Rohirrim, which are the people of Rohan, which need to be protected against the assault of the Saruman forces, which is a big Urukai, which are the beings, I don't know if you can call them humans, but that's another story, which were recruited by the wizard Saruman, and they try to find shelter in this Helm's Deep. And they feel pretty confident doing that because they said it was never conquered. Rings true? We'll see about that. Because you can guess, of course, that was a little too confident, right? At least a part of this fortress, Helm's Deep, didn't hold. And of course, again, it's a certain weak point we hear in loads of movies. Hello, Death Star. It's the cupboard being a weak point. And in the book, the Urukai didn't need to blow it open with a bomb because it was already open. But in the movies, it basically will be blown open by a bomb. And this is the point where Helm's Deep was almost overwhelmed by the enemy forces. So you could wonder now, why am I telling you that this morning on a Vue track, a talk claiming to be on web security? Because yes, your application's protection can be regarded as a fortress, because there's really precious things you need to protect. May it be your customer, your user's data, may it be features you want people to pay for, or just generally you want to build a good and a secure application, right? You want to protect your applications inside against outside threats, which is basically a fortress, right? And Theoden, the king of Rohan in Lord of the Rings, at some point told a quote which is really true, even in this real world, even in web security, because he says, "It never has fallen to assault, but now my heart is doubtful." He's doubting that his fortress will protect his people against the enemy assault, right? And this is an important lesson for us as well, because we shouldn't feel too confident. We never should feel too secure that just our application will not be attacked. We will always be secure. Why should we care? Because we really need to. As Theoden says, how shall any terrorist withstand such numbers and such reckless hate? How should our application withstand so many cybersecurity attacks, so many security risks and incidents? May it be caused by us, or may it be caused by the tools we use because they have a security issue and need to patch it as fast as possible? How can we protect our application and thus our users, which should be the most important things to remember from our application? Yes, so don't be scared in this regard, because there are actually some pretty easy things you can do to secure your applications, and this is basically what my talk will be about. So this talk will cover the lighter part of security. It's called them low-hanging fruits. See some best practices you can easily apply. And for a deep dive, just let me know. I will show you another talk, because I want to be mindful of your time. Okay. Well, let's get to know your level of knowledge and what you find is important in web security. I will enable a small question on which security risk or incidents do you already know on Slido in such small bit. So let's go and see what you think is important. And it's so interesting to see the answers, because if I ask other audiences this exact same question, it's always different answers, always correct ones. But it's wonderful to learn what you think is important. And I see people typing, I'm so excited. TJ Maxx, SQL injection. Oh yeah, this is the classic one. On Monday, I tried to explain SQL injection by using alien allegories, like the Alien movie. It was really fun. Target, XSS, man in the middle. Oh yeah, absolutely. And as a front-end developer, especially XSS is really important for me. I keep getting letters then, oh yeah, I read about that. I never experienced myself, but I read about that. It's an actual thing. And they're coming in more. AT&T. I guess I need to Google that at some point, because I'm not that, like in Germany, we don't have AT&T as a company, but I guess it might be really important to know what that happened. okay, yeah. XSRF. Oh, I see there are lots of, let alone a computer that's logged in. Oh yeah, you need to educate people to not do that. I love it that there are so many answers, and there's still people typing, so let's add them content in. WordPress, oh my God. Before working at Okta, I was working at a e-commerce provider, and we didn't use WordPress, but of course it was good if stuff happened to them and not to us. Oh yeah, I see lots of things coming in. Yahoo. Oh, I'm so happy someone said WordPress. Okay, let's wait for the last one typing. National public data. Ooh. In any case, those are wonderful answers, and some I will basically Google later on from a European standpoint, because this sounds really interesting. Okay, let's get back to the show. So we heard about lots of things, and some points might pop up in this talk as well. Because if we think about what the most dangerous or most common risk in web are, which we need to take a look at. There's a team which helps us prioritize and helps us to lead our way on what issues we should try to focus on first. And they are called OWASP, which is a shorthand for Open Worldwide Application Security Project, and their goal is to raise security inside of the web. And every year they are doing a ranking based on a certain data set. Actually, they are gathering data for 2025 as well, so there will be new ranking soon. But for now, we will need to use the 2021 ranking because they're doing it all globally. So yeah, let's take a look at which are those. And we will basically take a look at the top 3 or 2, more or less. And small spoiler alert, as we are front-end developers right now, I will focus especially on one part in it. And OWASP, to teach us on how to get secure, they have a wonderful demo application, which is a little sophisticated and broken by purpose. It's called OWASP Choose, and I will refer to that job to showcase 2 risks later on. But just so you know, it's a job broken by purpose, and actually they are providing some challenges on how to hack into this job or damage this job. So it's really funny to play around with it a little bit if you search for some training. And with that being said, let's take a look at the first, like the rank 1 issue. To be mindful with your time, I wrote a test to showcase the most common security risk people should take care of. So let's take a look what I'm doing. It's a little fast, but if you see, I was going to a certain page where I shouldn't have access. It's the administration page of a web shop. So I logged in, entered -administration for the administration overview, and oops, I was not stopped. And that this test is failing is basically intended because I shouldn't be able to visit this one, right? This is an issue which is basically flagged as the most, like rank 1 most important risk to take care of according to OWASP. It's called broken access control. Access control refers to making sure that a user is only able to do what they are supposed to do. So basically acting inside of their permissions. And as a result, broken access control yields a security risk in authorization. I would be not too strict and say like authentication is a part of it as well, because if you want to determine what a user is able to do, you should know who your user is, right? So it's basically your first step to authorization. And yeah, it's not completely focus of this talk because we're front-end people and the most stuff is done in the back-end. But of course, the first easy improvement to not having people basically breaking into your application, becoming a user, and then being able to deal with your application or stuff they are not able to do or shouldn't be able to do is generic error messages. Let me tell you a little more to it. So if you have a login form entering username, password, and you have invalid credentials, you shouldn't say like, okay, there's the issue. Your username is wrong or your password is wrong, because with those explicit error messages, an attacker could assume, okay, there's a point where I might need to brute force. It would make it easier for him to break into by brute force or by other means. So try to go for, easy and generic error messages like, something from your username or a password, or I don't know, but something's wrong, please check it. So the attacker doesn't know where to look. Or another interesting point would be a rate limiter to basically make it more difficult for people to just brute force in. You can think about using third-party libraries like Auth0 or others. There are lots of things. Or build it on your own. There are lots of examples to introduce JWT tokens into your application or stuff like that as well. So just to cover the most important risk, we will now go to a risk which is even more important, especially for us front-end developers and in Vue context as well. It's an injection. Unfortunately, right now I don't have my alien talk for it. If you're interested to see it, I can send or show you the slides. But here we're just like talking about injection where an attacker will suppress untrusted input to a program. And I was really happy that someone said SQL injection, because this is exactly that. Oracle site scripting refers to injection as well. So lots of attacks which could happen when input, a user, for example, is doing, gets processed by an interpreter as part of a command or query, and will be basically sneaked inside of your application. So the interpreter or compiler treats it as their own, like your own code. And then, as a result, the execution of your program will be altered. This could happen if user supply data is not validated, filtered, or sanitized. So this typical example, a script tag which you basically input into a forum will be executed without any issues. And this is not good, right? Another vector would be dynamic queries or non-parameterized calls without context-aware escaping, which I use directly inside of your interpreter, which is bad as well. Okay, let's take a look how this might look like. I wrote a test to showcase a SQL injection. So let's take a look. In it, we will use this little query, which will lead us to log in with the first user inside of the database. And this is working out. Not too good, right? Fortunately, it's just the overstressed shop, so it's by purpose. But if you see this inside of real world, it might be bad. How can we try to not have such things happen inside of our Vue applications? Most important and fundamental advice: never, 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 never ever use non-trusted content as your component template. Never do something like this. Doing so is equivalent to allow arbitrary JavaScript execution inside of your application. As Vue templates are compiled into JavaScript and all expressions inside of those templates will be executed as part of the rendering process. So please don't just use a direct user-provided string there. Only add content trusted and controlled by you. When it comes to your application using Vue, and now for everyone who's not using Vue, we will cover all the things Vue helps us to stay secure. So what measures can Vue already provide by itself? So what is this first deeping wall of Helm's Deep when it comes to Vue? As we know, injection is easiest prevented by using proper escaping of content. So if you, for example, have a script tag, you can see in the below part, the below snippet, it will be rendered useless by escaping strings, special characters, so scripts cannot be executed. And in Vue, the HTML binding feature will help us for that. So you can see here, if you use these curly brackets, you will have HTML binding in it, and the content is automatically escaped. So if you use a provided string that way, and it contains the script below, it will be turned into this. So rendered useless for injection. Escaping is actually done by using native browser APIs like text context. So the good thing is the browser takes care of maintaining this way of escaping. If it's broken, it's a problem of the browser, not by Vue, which is pretty cool. And it's similar with attribute binding. So the dynamic attribute bindings are automatically escaped as well. So if you use a user-provided string like that inside of the title directory, for example, it will be rendered to this. It will be escaped, preventing the close of the title attribute to inject new arbitrary HTML. And as said before, it's using native browser APIs, which is pretty neat. But of course, Vue does a lot to help you with this escaping, with tackling injection. But it cannot be the only thing you should rely on, right? Generally, it's impractical for a framework like Vue to completely shield you from any potential malicious code execution. It will have lots of big tolls on performance, for example. The most important protection is yourself. So you will be always the last man standing. You and your basically ability to do best practices, to design good and secure applications. So there's some call for action for you as a developer as well. Let's take a look at some practices and things to consider. Okay. You should encrypt all sensitive files. This is a little... Okay. This is a little too early. Generally, this is a direct quote by Vue.js doc because it's so important. Never consider any basically content 100% safe, especially when it comes to Vue using own Vue.js templates. Better is it to use vtext or a Connect.Tech? Yeah, something got a little mixed up, I'm sorry. But let's go for URL injection because many people forget about it. Because sometimes it's possible to give the user like the ability to add links by binding the href attributes. So user-provided URLs could contain from redirections or JavaScript embedded. So you need to take care of those as well. Cases I could think about when it comes to those URL injection risks are, for example, phasing cases by constructing and entering a URL inside of the application which leads to another page, or reflected XRS, so reflected process execution, where a URL is being displayed in the web application where an attacker basically injected it. You could think about using libraries such as sanitize URL to help you sanitize URLs as well. But generally, especially when it comes to redirects and URLs, your backend should help you sanitize those as well before they are saved to the database. And just generally, be aware that URLs can always navigate to unsafe destinations, so you give up control basically. Another point which people are not always aware of is style injection. Well, you might think, okay, it's only CSS, right? What could happen? It's not JavaScript. Well, I'm thinking about a UI redress attack. So in those cases, an attacker has a hidden UI in control. Think about a login button you have, which should basically submit a form login into your application. But the attacker has a styling above this link, above this UI submit button, into a transparent box, for example, leading to a fake login page. So you should be careful to have users provide styling changes as well. So think about click checking, like here. Those things might be a little dangerous. So how can we better do it? Basically doing the same, like using the HTML binding as well. Might be a good idea. But you could do other stuff as well, like only allowing full control over your CSS inside a sandbox iframe, only allowing full control over CSS inside save values. We'll take a look at it here. There you go. So values where you know people cannot do that much harm. Maybe background, maybe color, not just a complete box being rendered. Another idea might be object syntax and only allowing users, provide to those things. Some more words to the basically obvious part, JavaScript injections. Don't use script elements in views because the templates and render functions shouldn't have side effects anyway, no matter if it's for security reasons or not. You should keep your code predicted. The same goes for events. So when it comes to on-click, on-focus, etc., don't allow user-provided content here, user-provided JavaScript. Another idea on how to basically deal with that might be defining and validating props as well. And of course, Vuedoc says it to never consider any JavaScript you get from other sources 100% safe. Okay, now you could ask me, okay, Ramona, did you forget that you were mentioning broken access control as well? No, I didn't forget about that. I brought some best practices for broken access control as well because it's so important. But before that, I would love to know what you would wish for in a perfect world where you could just wish for stuff to have like a safe measure or basically a perfect solution for login and access control inside of your application. What would you like to have? Okay, let's go back. Start this question for you. So thinking about, okay, what a user should do inside of your application, what security measures. I don't want to spoil that much, but maybe what do you consider safe when it comes to a login? I see people typing. I'm really excited. Especially today is a week dedicated to a certain way of authentication. Let's see if people will call it out. And biometrics, yeah, I like that. Especially when it comes to having an iPhone Face ID is pretty cool. MFA, absolutely. Low effort, safe, easy. Yeah, you shouldn't build too many barriers for people who are allegedly logging in, right? Automated, SSL, single sign-on, yeah, absolutely. I don't want to remember so many passwords. I like to just log in by identity providers such as Google or Twitter, right? Proper validation errors, keeping the developer experience high. Yeah, and there is wider adoption for passkeys. Today is a week of passkeys, so I was kind of hoping that people say that. So there's a pretty cool. Yeah, and of course, all of those things, especially when it comes to single sign-on, when it comes to multi-factor authentication, biometrics, passkeys, will help you in authentication. Let's get back to my slides. Yeah, other things. And there is the slide which I wanted to have a little later. 1 second. I will get rid of a small. There we go. Animations are too risky. I should keep them out. So, if you have a resource or something, or a user, when they are logging in first time and don't have any rules assigned to them, you should deny everything by default. And if you know who the user is or what you want to protect, you should basically grant access based on the things you know, unless it's a public resource. So in this regard, it's basically more difficult for a user to do stuff they aren't able to do. What I already talked about a little is rate limiting. So rate limit API controller access to minimize harm. If you have stateful session identifiers, you should invalidate them at a certain time, so refresh them. And if you want to keep them a little longer because it's more convenient for a user to be, for example, logged in, think about a standard like OAuth to have a smaller attack window. And you could think about really access control mechanism, which could be tools. There's a tool which I think it's really interesting because it's open source. It's called OpenFGA. It's a CN Cloud Native Foundation project, so it's pretty cool. If you want to check it out, there's a QR code. And yeah, it's basically helping you. And it's, as far as I know, it's inspired by Google Zanzibar, so that's pretty cool. And there's one thing I myself think it's really important, so I need to highlight it, and this is framework agnostic. Your product should never look like this. Please don't ignore Dependabot. Please merge those pull requests. Please take a look at CWK databases, CWE, sorry. Watch out for publicly disclosed vulnerabilities and update your dependencies. This is really important because these updates could have security fixes in it. You should definitely implement inside of the application. And there are a couple of commands like npm audit or npm outdated to help you keep your dependencies pretty updated. Yes. So apart from outdated dependencies, remove unused dependencies, unnecessary features, component files, and documentations. So everything which is not used should be away, so there's no factor on outdated or security issues you are not aware of. You could use tools like OWASP dependency check, retire.js, all those things to basically have an inventory of all version numbers, so you know which is old and which not. And monitor your see common vulnerability and exposures and stuff like that. Obtain your packages from a trusted source and secure links, so there's nothing fishy like creeping in inside of your dependencies. And watch out if they are not maintained anymore, because if they're not maintained, maybe they are not getting security fixes in. Last but not least, update your applications. Don't remember dependent, but I cannot repeat that enough. These are some commands which could be helpful, including Snook, which is a wonderful tool to test and basically look for security vulnerabilities. Okay, I was a little fast right now. I hope you bear with me, but if there are 4 things to remember from my talk, it's those. Your framework, Vue, is the first line of defense. It will help you with sanitizing. However, you are second and you are the most important line. So please don't think, I'm using Vue, nothing can happen to me. You're still the important person in the room. You should take care of security. Never ever use template or code you don't trust. Really important because it could wreak havoc. You can apply many small best practices and many small, basically behaviors to keep your application secure. It doesn't take too much time to implement those. And mind your dependencies. Keep them up to date. Don't forget about Dependabot. And just do your homework on that one. Because even if your first line of defense was breached, it's still you with your best practices taking care. And that was the same for Lord of the Ring as well. When it comes to Helm's Deep, the first line of defense was breached, but they were still standing tall, right? The inner part of the fortress was not breached. So for web security, never only rely on your tools, even if they are already good. You're always the most important person in the room. And with support from others, with support from the community, you can get the tools, you can get the knowledge needed to build wonderful applications, such as the support from others in Lord of the Ring as well, because there were relieving forces brought by, I guess, Gandalf. So the Rohirrim, so the people of Rohan and the Uruk-hai were defeated. With best practices, some support by learning from conference talks like this or others, you can ensure safety. But of course, there might be lots of things we don't know yet. So if you see something fishy, if you see something which could be a security issue, report it immediately to your framework, to Vue. And as far as the documentation says, it will be immediately become top concern, and a full-time contributor will directly work in it. So take a look at this email address. If you see a security issue in Vue, please text them. And there are a couple of projects and tools as well from Vue and Nuxt themselves to help you stay secure as well. So Nuxt Security is an example what I was able to find. Check it out. It will help you a lot if you're using Nuxt. These are more best practices and the Vue.js SDK by Auth0 if you want to take a look at this. And the general best practices from HTML5 and OWASP. But no worries when it comes to these QR codes. I will later share my screen, my slides, and you can look them up as well. Okay, so Yeah, I was a little fast, so until now, thank you so much for sharing your time with me, learning about security. And yeah, if you got any questions, I'll be right here. Thank you so much.